Dan Abrams, and this is Court Case.
Ready to take your plea?
Yeah! Killing all you do. I hope you die in prison as well.
First up, we get to Barry, Florida, for the sentencing of Gregory Ramos. The 17-year-old pled guilty to first-degree murder, abuse of a dead body, and tampering with evidence in the death of Gail Clevenger, his very own mother. A little over 2 years earlier, the then 15-year-old claimed he came home from school to find his mom's empty car running in the driveway. His stepfather, who lived with the family, was out of town at the time. He called 911 to report a burglary and that his mother was missing.
911, where's your emergency?
I just got home, and my house is completely trashed. It looks like someone broke in the side door.
Okay, how long have you been gone?
I've been gone all school day.
Okay, are you there by yourself?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 15.
Okay.
My mom's car is here, and it's on, and she's not home. She's supposed to go to work today, and I can't find her.
Your mom is, okay. Your mom's car is there. Is there any other way she ever gets to work? Does she ever get a ride from anyone else?
No, it's on. The car is on. It's turned on.
The car is on, and you're sure she is not there?
I searched the entire place. I've been here for like 8 minutes. I didn't know
Okay.
The dispatcher does her best to comfort the boy.
I want you to stay on the phone with me. We are not going to disconnect until I have an officer that is with you, okay? Are you safe where you're at?
Yeah.
When police arrive at the scene, Ramos seems distraught and points out items that were missing from the home.
I had a radio here, and I had an extension cord with an alarm clock, and then I had my $1,000 computer here. It doesn't make any sense.
When police questioned the teen, they discovered inconsistencies in his story. Eventually, Ramos admitted to strangling his mother the night before after they fought over the boy's slipping grades. Ramos took police to the body, which he confessed to burying beneath a church fire pit. The teen was charged as an adult, but in order to avoid a trial and a possible life sentence, he pled guilty.
You plead guilty to first-degree murder.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you do it?
Yes, Your Honor.
At sentencing, while some family members spoke lovingly about Clevenger, the defendant's 84-year-old grandmother, the victim's mother, makes an unusual request. Instead of scolding the teen, she offers him a prayer.
Dear God, in the name of your Son Jesus, I ask you to keep his soul pure and close to you. And Father, please protect him from any bodily harm. Keep him safe. And I ask these things in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I love you, and I praise you. I'm here for you as long as God keeps me on this earth. And when I'm not here anymore, I'll still be watching over you. I promise you that.
Thank you for being here today.
Ramos then delivers his own statement to the court.
He's almost forever until the truth will truth, nothing but the truth, all God.
I do. I want to thank you today, Your Honor, for letting me take the stand before you and make my statement. I'm not standing here today to make excuses for myself. I'm here to honor and remember my mother. Not only have I stolen my mother from myself, but from everybody else as well. Because of my actions, I will never get to truly know my mom. I refuse to make excuses for myself. I can only plead for forgiveness.
Ramos was sentenced to 45 years in an adult prison. He'll be eligible for the possibility of parole after he serves a minimum of 25 years. Next, we pick up in DeLand, Florida, where a hearing's in progress in the courtroom of Judge James Clayton. At the end of his bench are sheriff's deputies Veronica Hadd, a 3-year staffer, and Stephen Wells, an 18-year vet. The deputies are here to ensure order and safety, but today the pair seem a little distracted. Things start out innocently enough when Deputy Wells uncaps a highlighter and marks the arm of his unsuspecting partner. But after taking a playful punch to the arm, Wells ratchets things up a notch when he grabs a rag and gives it the old locker room treatment, rolling it up and prepping it for deployment. Then, after what appears to be a little verbal taunting, Wells delivers a backhanded shot to Had's face. She returns the favor with a solid arm punch, then swipes his face with a highlighter. A third deputy can be seen covering his mouth as the friendly fight continues to escalate. In the courtroom, Judge Clayton, who appears oblivious to the shenanigans, places a phone call to an attorney regarding the hearing at hand. At the same time, it looks like Deputy Wells might be trying to make amends with his partner. But instead, she produces her taser and activates it in front of the entire courtroom. But as Deputy Wells tries to reload his weapon of choice, Had snatches the rag and tosses it to the floor.
Hi, this is Judge Clayton in DeLand. How are you?
And it appears the deputy duel might be over,
Who is this?
right up until Wells delivers his closer.
I'm sitting in for Judge Zambrano.
Deputy Wells may have won the battle, but both officers would ultimately lose after the court video was reviewed by Internal Affairs. The department cited both officers for horseplay or other distracting activities while court was in session. Deputy Had also received an additional violation of improper use or handling of a weapon for activating her taser. Both deputies were suspended for 16 hours without pay for their inappropriate courtroom behavior. Next, we go to a sentencing at the DeKalb County Courthouse in Atlanta, Georgia. The defendant, Clayton Ellington, was convicted of murder in the brutal killing of his wife, Berna, and their twin 2-year-old sons. In a fit of rage, Ellington bludgeoned his family to death with a hammer. According to police, he was hoping to start a new life with his current girlfriend. At first, Ellington told police there was an intruder, but later confessed to committing the murders. The state is seeking the death penalty. The sentencing is about to get underway, but one member of the victim's family decides he can no longer wait for justice. That's Berna's cousin, Earl Bradford, who charges Ellington from the gallery. He gets in a few shots before he's grabbed. It takes 2 men to restrain the furious Bradford. Ellington wasn't seriously hurt in the attack, and Bradford was whisked out of the courtroom. No such luck for Ellington. In the murder of his family, he was sentenced to death for each of the 3 murders. But the Georgia Supreme Court overturned the sentence because jurors weren't initially offered the option of a penalty of life without parole. As a result of that ruling, Ellington's sentence was changed to life in prison with no chance of parole. Next, we're in Kalamazoo, Michigan for an arraignment hearing. 31-year-old Joseph Van Kirk was charged with multiple crimes, including assault, resisting arrest, and assault on a police officer. Now appearing via video from county jail, he's requesting release on a personal recognizance bond. But given the severity of charges against him, and with previous felony convictions on his record, the judge has concerns.
Based on your criminal history and the allegations in this offense, I find that a PR bond will not ensure public safety. I'm going to set this at a continue at a $5,000 fee.
You! How many kids, man? Hey! That's what happens when you with me.
When Van Kirk realizes he won't be getting bond,
Based on your criminal history and the allegations in this offense, I find that a PR bond
He raises his paperwork in disgust.
will not ensure public safety. I'm going to set this at a continue at a $5,000
Then stands up and takes aim at the judge on a video screen. The thud is the sound of Van Kirk's fist breaking the video monitor. Deputies enter and get Van Kirk back in his seat, but he still has a message for the judge.
When you with me.
He's looking at the screen. Joseph Van Kirk received an additional charge of malicious destruction of police property for breaking the video monitor and was sentenced to 41 days in jail. For his original assault and resisting charges, he was sentenced to 180 days and 1 year probation.
Let's just do this and get it over with. Please. Let's just do it and get it over with.
Next, we head to Detroit, Michigan, for the sentencing of twin brothers Dwayne and Dwight Samuels. They've pled guilty to assault with intent to murder and a felony firearm charge. It all started 5 months earlier when the two brothers were out celebrating their 61st birthday. Later in the evening, Dwight entered a local restaurant and tried to order fried mushrooms for a woman he was with. Unfortunately, Dwight was told this particular location burned with his brother Dwayne 20 minutes later. That's when all hell broke loose. The brothers began fighting with random customers while employees looked on. Then, while holding a gun, one brother approached an unarmed 40-year-old man who pleaded for his life. The older brother held a pipe as they proceeded to beat the victim to the ground. They then shot him in the jaw, knocking out his teeth. The beating continued before the brothers finally left. Luckily, the shooting victim survived. The Samuels were quickly arrested, and if convicted, both faced life in prison. So, in order to get a reduced sentence, they've pled guilty to assault with intent to murder. The defendants appear with their attorneys before Judge Kiana Lillard. She's ready to accept the guilty plea when, at the last minute, the brothers decide they want to change their plea to not guilty. But for Judge Lillard, it's not that simple.
You can't just say, you know what, I changed my mind. There has to be a reason. So what's the reason?
After first challenging the terms of the deal, Dwayne tries to refute the details of the incident.
This man,
Well, go ahead.
this just didn't happen. We walked into a Coney Islands and it just jumped off as a fight. I was a victim at the beginning. Now I'm a victim at the end.
The Samuels now claim they were acting in self-defense. The judge is not buying it.
Unfortunately, sir, that's not self-defense. That's not how it works. Like, you can't, somebody can't beat you up, then you leave and come back and resume an altercation and introduce weapons and stuff like that. Like, that's not how it works. Self-defense has to be right in the moment.
While the parties continue arguing, there's a disruption from the gallery.
Rather she had to leave.
Wait, what's going on?
So, I'm correcting my niece got to leave.
You can't do that in there.
You just did it.
It's Dwayne's daughter, who's apparently causing a disturbance in the court.
That's the seventh time telling her stop.
Okay. Tell her.
Did you hear that, Mom?
Mr. Samuels, I got this. Tell her she can come back in, but she can't talk, okay?
It appears all the commotion is too much for Dwayne Samuels, and he begins to hyperventilate.
We need to stop for a minute. We need to stop.
I gotta go.
Okay. Take him in the back for a minute. Okay. Let's go, guys.
After several minutes, the brothers return. The judge makes her decision. There will be no change in the plea.
Let's just do this and get it over with.
Before the judge announces her sentence, she has a few parting words for the defendants.
This is not about fried mushrooms. Something triggered you all that night. And as difficult as this has to be for you all, imagine how much worse it would be if somebody had died.
Dwight Samuels is sentenced to 13 to 30 years in a state prison, while his brother Dwayne received a sentence of 11 to 30 years. Next, we're in Las Vegas, Nevada, for the trial of 35-year-old John Copenhaver, better known as former UFC mixed martial arts fighter War Machine. He was charged with 34 felony counts, including kidnapping, sexual assault, and attempted murder. 3 years earlier, he broke into the house of his ex-girlfriend, adult film actress Christy Mack. Once inside, he violently beat her and her friend, Corey Thomas. Copenhaver believed the two were dating. From the stand, Corey shared the gruesome details about how the MMA fighter allegedly attacked him in a fit of rage.
He bit me here in the cheek, and I could feel the bite, and once it registered I was getting bitten, then I put my hands back up to try and break him off of my face, and then he bit me in the arm.
During the attack, Christy placed a call to 911 and can be heard screaming at Copenhaver in the background. After Copenhaver allegedly beat Corey and forced him to leave the house, he then turned his anger on his ex-girlfriend. She painfully recalls the details of the evening while taking the stand at the trial.
I just remember being on all fours right in front of the shower, like I was about to stand up, and he kicked me in the ribs so hard that I fell over and began convulsing.
Christy claimed the MMA fighter then allegedly choked and sexually assaulted her before issuing one final threat.
He said, now I have to take you to the desert and kill you.
Christy ultimately escaped, running out of the home naked until she made it safely to a neighbor's house, who was left with severe injuries, including an orbital fracture, broken teeth, and a ruptured liver. After a 2-week trial, Copenhaver was found guilty on 29 of the 34 counts, including kidnapping, battery with substantial bodily harm, and sexual assault, but escaped the most serious charges of attempted murder. 2.5 months later at sentencing, Christy, still shaken up from the incident, shares an emotional impact statement with the court.
It started with just a slap and rapidly became exponentially worse. I've had my head split open. It's been a really long 3 years. And I'm so ready for this to be over.
But looking ahead to the possible sentence her ex-boyfriend could receive, she says no amount of time will be enough.
I don't know if my life will feel complete in 12 years, or 20 years, or even 30 years. And neither do you. But I do know when he gets out, he will kill me.
Finally, before learning his sentence, Copenhaver addresses the court.
Not an ego with mine that I don't seriously regret a lot of these things that I did. I hate that this happened. I hate that I had to hurt the woman that I love. I hate that I had to hurt my family, my teammates. I should have killed somebody.
John Copenhaver, aka War Machine, was then sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 36 years. That's it for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching.